everyone, welcome to another episode of In the Garden with Mr. Elrod. Today we are here with the Webb family. Go ahead and say hello, Webb family.
Hello.
This is Mr. Chris and Miss Denise. Now I've worked with Mr. Chris for a number of years. We've actually driven to Cincinnati several years grading AP exams. And this is his wife, Miss Denise. They enjoy the gardening space, but they also have some animals, so they've got a pretty elaborate setup I'm excited to show you today, and so we'll go ahead and get started and let them show us what they got going on.
This is our first year in
Let's back up just a second. I hadn't got going yet.
Oh.
All right, so you can go ahead.
All right, this is our garden. This is our first year in this particular house, putting a garden in. And the reason why we chose this space is it's really the only part of our yard that gets full sun, because we have a lot of trees where we live. So we decided to utilize this area to go ahead and put our garden in. And we thought we'd try some new things we haven't tried before. This right here is called a lemon cucumber, and it is shaped like a lemon, but it is a cucumber, and it has a little bit stronger flavor than a regular cucumber, but it's really good. And as you can see, there's bees all over it. Our bees really enjoy that. And then we're also trying, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing it right, tomatillo, I think.
Sounds right.
It's a purple tomato. So this is our year of experimenting with some new things. And we try to utilize as much space as we can, putting things in. The only problem with that we've learned is that there really should be a little more aeration, air flow going through our zucchinis, because we're having a little bit of a mildew problem. And I think if we would have spaced it out a little bit better, which we'll do next year, that should help solve that problem.
So would you think about extending the garden out? Would you keep the same space, just fewer plants? What would you think?
I think I'll do fewer plants because I'm getting so many zucchini with what we have, I can hardly give it away. So I think we'll just do fewer plants. But I don't know, we love to garden. Maybe we'll expand. We'll just see how it goes. And then our son, who really loves to garden too, he's been researching cover crops for the winter. So once this is all done, we'll till it in, and he's going to plant a cover crop to restore the nutrients back into the soil. So that's going to be interesting to see. That'll be our first experience with it.
Has he picked anything out yet, or is he still?
Yes, he has a mix. I'm not quite sure what that is.
Okay.
He's found an organic mix. We're very big on growing organically, so we don't have any herbicides or pesticides that we use on our garden at all. And when we tilled it in, we used our compost that we had been putting together for years. And another thing that we usually do, we didn't this year, but we're going to make sure we do next year, is companion planting. So we have like marigolds and different things to help ward off insects. Here we also have carrots, and these are sugar snaps, which are really good. You can just take off the vine and eat them. My students at school really like those. We have okra and all different kinds of different tomatoes over there, and green beans. So
with your carrots, are these the run-of-the-mill orange, or you got
no,
some
we
of the...
decided in our last house we planted carrots, and due to the hard soil, they had a really weird shape to them. So we decided to do a smaller stubby carrot, hoping we'd get a better yield with that. So time will tell.
I did, I guess it was maybe some heirloom variety one year, and I did some, they had purple carrots, too strong, not very good.
Oh, okay, the different colors.
I couldn't handle it.
Huh,
I ended up throwing those away.
Okay, so that is our vegetable garden. We have a lot of flowers that we grow too, because we have bees over here. And
I noticed you got your little windmills up. Are those?
Oh, that's to keep the birds out of here.
Okay.
So far, that's worked really well. We haven't had any problems with birds getting in there, especially when it was smaller. I was worried about my seeds getting dug up. So.
Okay. All right. So you had talked about doing things organically, no herbicides or pesticides.
Right.
So what are some strategies you guys? So you talked about the windmills and some companion planting maybe for next year. But what are some things y'all are doing right now to try to keep some of the bugs out?
I don't think anything else at the moment. We have chickens, and they roam around here, and they help just with the bugs, and we don't let them in the garden, but I think that helps with the bugs just in the yard itself.
Okay.
But mostly the marigolds is what's helped us in the past when we've had
Okay.
gardens before.
So this year we started our foray into bees, and so we started out with one beehive, and now we have accumulated a second, so we have 2 sets of bees, and we're getting ready to extract the honey, hopefully end of this week, beginning of next week. So we'll walk over this way and take a look at our bee setup. So hopefully you're comfortable getting around bees.
Oh, yeah.
But
Honeybees, very docile unless
They are.
unless you mess with them.
now, when we first got them, I have to say, the first day I was stung, and then the next day I was stung. So, but since then I haven't been. Overall they're very docile. I can go over there and mess with them and not have any problems. Now, this time of year, it's getting into the mid part of summer, very hot, so they get a little more agitated. And
So they get grumpy just like us when we
they
get hot.
can be a little grumpy, and we have noticed more activity, but they're not out to attack you. So as long as you're not doing anything that they feel is a threat, then they don't mess with you. So, but these are our hives. The one on the left is what we originally started out with this year. We got them through the Forsyth County Beekeepers Club, and set up the hive. They come in what's called a nook, NUC, and there's 5 frames, a queen, probably 10,000 bees or so, and you put those frames into an established, or your hive, your bee boxes, and they take off. So now that whole thing is full of bees, probably upwards 50,000 bees or more, and packed full of honey right now. So,
Okay. So I know you mentioned that you got someone to come help you with the extraction. Do you have any idea how much honey you're expecting to get from these 2?
well, I'm not really sure, being the first year. They're saying, people in the club, that this year has been kind of a weak production for honey for some reason. So we'll see. I'm hoping to get a few jars anyway.
Yeah.
And the one on the right, we just acquired. There was a couple that's from Germany, and they just started their bees this year as well, and they were moving back to Germany, so they needed to get rid of their hives, so we picked up one of their hives. They've already extracted the honey from that one, so we'll see but that was a month ago or so we'll see if there's anything else in there. But I have somebody coming tomorrow to help me with that through the club. So.
Okay. So, is there any particular reason why you chose this spot for the bees?
Well, several reasons. We were putting in a garden, so we wanted it close to the garden. You want a place that is fairly sunny. You don't want it too shaded. In my yard, we have 4.5 acres here, and it's mostly trees. So we're very limited on open areas. But again, it's also more convenience. We're here where we have lots of flowers, our garden, and they have plenty of food.
Okay.
So.
Wow, very good.
Okay, so we also have a little mason bee colony here. So mason bees are not colonial, so they don't live in a colony like our honeybees do. They like to build singular little nests. So each one of these little round bamboo tubes is where a mason bee, an individual mason bee, has gone in there, stored their food,
Yeah, sit still. All right, back up and sit still.
stored their food, laid eggs, and then they seal it up with mud. So, and as we were coming up here, there was one that just went in one of the tubes. But,
So the idea here is just create another space for pollinators.
yes,
Okay, and they're not,
creating another space for pollinators.
and they're not destructive to the house.
No, these are not carpenter bees. So carpenter bees actually live in the ground and
Lay their eggs in the wood.
lay the eggs in the wood. The bees themselves, the adults, tend to make nests in the ground. And that's where they overwinter and that kind of thing.
Yeah, that.
But, yep.
Okay.
Then we have our vermiculture. So this is something we started a couple years ago with our worms, and so we get a vermiculture tea, and you can see some of them crawling around in there, and there's also some flies, but it needs to be turned.
So it looks primarily like
You can see them on there.
banana peels and eggshells.
Yep. Well, my son has been putting too many eggshells in there. You don't really need that.
Those kids, tell you what.
Yeah, I know. But any any vegetable scraps that we have from the garden would be good for that. Banana peels, they like those, that kind of thing.
You got your spigot for your
Yep.
tea.
You got a spigot on there. You can. They have to stay hydrated, so you have to make sure there's enough liquid in there, and that flows through, all the material that's in there, the casings, and then you can extract that and use it on your plants. So,
Okay. So how hard was that to set up? Was that pretty easy?
pretty easy. Here, sitting next to it, I've got one of the sections, and you can see there are several things that you can add to this. There's kind of a coconut mat, and I've got several in here. You would just use one. There's this
Watch out for the
cloth
bee attraction.
material that you can put in there, and we have on the bottom, and that just helps to separate, so when the water is flowing through there, that you're not getting a lot of the soil and other things, the worm casings out with the tea. You want that stuff stay in there. But another thing, this is kind of the base of the material here. This is
I thought
ground
that was
up.
a brick.
No, not a brick. It's actually ground up coconut. And you put this in a bucket, 5-gallon bucket of water, and then it swells up, and that's like the base material when you're first starting the worms out with a new section.
So you bought the worms online.
Yep. I think it's Uncle Jim's Worm Farm. That's where we got them.
You can buy anything online these days, huh?
You can. Yep.
All right, very neat. So would you say is that a big part of what you do, or y'all just kind of
No, that we're just kind of playing with that, experimenting with it. I mean, there are people that are really into this and have lots of these permaculture setups, but
Do they sell it mostly, or do they use it with their?
you can do both.
Yeah.
I mean, there are people that they sell the worm casings. That's really what's valuable.
Yeah.
And but we're just kind of experimenting with it. It's fun.
Okay.
It's one of those things.
No, I think so. I think it's pretty neat. I have not gotten brave enough to venture into vermiculture.
Yeah.
Although you're trying to create kind of a self-sustaining environment that's environmentally friendly.
That's right.
And
So-
also packs a nutritious punch.
Yep. That just plays into, what we try to do organically, just one more layer in the mix.
Okay.
So,
Oh, very good. All right. So aside from gardening, Mr. Chris is pretty handy with various tools. Here's a set of stairs that he built
yep.
for his college-age son. Got a nice outside staircase to his apartment.
Yep. So Quinn has above the garage apartment, full kitchen, laundry, bathroom, up there. And the original stairs were pretty bad shape, so that was another project we did this early summer, May and June, and turned out nice.
Mr. Chris likes projects.
I like to work.
Like to work. Doesn't like to sit around and
No,
not
I
do much of
can't.
anything.
I'm always doing something.
Gotta find something to do.
So I never sit around.
All right.
So
They also have a lot of stuff going on back here and kind of the back to side. I guess it would be the back of the house.
yep.
So we'll venture through the little gate here. Got a nice big fig. Oh, are figs technically trees or bushes?
I think
They
it's
grow kind of bushy, but
yeah, it's a tree. It's just a lower growing tree. We had to prune it pretty extensively when we were rebuilding the stairs here, so it was much bigger and had a lot more figs on it. But it's still,
looks like you got a fair number of figs on it.
yep, we still have quite a few.
Mm-hmm.
And so many that we end up giving quite a few away or let the chickens eat. We
Yeah.
have so many extras, so.
I was gonna say, I'm sure chickens like that a lot.
Oh yeah, that's one of their treats.
Oh, so you keep it away from them?
Well, we don't usually let the chickens back here.
Oh, okay.
So,
This is your space, huh?
yep. This is actually Chloe's space, our dog.
Oh, okay.
So,
Chloe's run.
Chloe's run, and she wants to get at the chickens. So if we let those two mix, it wouldn't turn out well for the chickens.
Gotta keep everybody in their separate space so everybody stays happy.
Yep.
All right, we got a tower garden over here. You say your wife won that, doing something?
Yeah, she teaches a lot of workshops, and one of the workshops she taught, this is something that she got from the workshop. So it's something that Quinn plays around with mostly. He's got some peppers, and these are actually carrots that are so big they've gone to seed.
Oh, okay.
From last season that we didn't take out of there. Watch where you step.
So are y'all gonna take those seeds and try to replant them, or what are y'all gonna do with those?
I think that's the plan.
Okay.
And the way this works, very similar to the vermiculture, because here in the middle you can put your vegetables to compost. There are worms in there. And it makes a tea as well. So,
Okay.
and you can extract it down on the bottom. You actually need to rotate that thing.
Rotate it for sun purposes.
Yeah. This top part does rotate, but the bottom where you actually get the vermiculture tea,
Oh, okay, I see what you're
we
saying.
need to get that turned around. Here we got a tulip poplar growing in there. We have butterfly bushes, which starting about this time of year will be packed with butterflies.
Y'all got a lot of pollinators around.
Oh, we have tons of pollinators.
That's what you need when you got such an operation.
Yeah. This is where our chickens are, and I think this is year 4. Chickens, if you don't know, and I've had chickens my whole life, but chickens go through a cycle where they lay really well for the first 2 to 3 years, and then they stop laying as well. So we just got through that cycle with our last batch of chickens. We found a farmer that wanted them, not to eat, just to have around on his farm. And we gave them away, and we just got a new batch back in April. So we have 15 chickens, mostly golden comets, 3 what's called buff Orpingtons, and then we have 2 Pekin ducks. So they were all new this year, April.
Okay.
So here's where our chicken coop and chicken run.
We'll meet Quinn, and then you can probably hear Hamilton talking. Hamilton's
Hopefully all the chickens are okay.
I'm moving into
All right, be
I'm
gentle.
moving into the chicken coop.
Let's be. You're not doing a very good job. All right, so Mr. Chris, you can tell us a little bit about some of your handiwork here. Tell us how you built all of this.
I built this chicken coop 4 years ago, and actually in the process of doing some renovation right now. So just replaced the trim on the door, and that's why it looks the way it does currently. But the trim needs to be sanded and painted now. So
Is that gonna be Quinn's job?
yes.
Look, Daddy, this is from the rooster.
I see that. I'm sorry that you scared the feathers off the rooster, huh?
No, it just
You can put that behind your ear.
no.
No, okay, I'll put it behind my ear.
That was cool.
All right, Matt. So you got to get the actual chicken coop, so everybody can back up, girl. Hey, get it back up. Oh, look. No. So I'm saying, so this is part of the coop right here. This is what we were talking about a few minutes ago. So if everybody wants to see what Mr. Chris has done, we actually got to show them.
What's this?
All right.
Stick that part out, aren't you?
All right.
So the inside, and it's a little bit of a mess right now. It needs to be cleaned out, but the house is just where they sleep. They don't stay in there during the day. I do have a waterer here, and some of my chickens like to roost way up in the top of this thing, so that's why there's poop on the top of the water bucket.
Oh yeah, it's a nice smell in there too.
Oh yeah. That's chickens for you. So, yep, Quinn and I built this 4 years ago,
Okay.
and
You expanded this year, right?
yep, we expanded the chicken run. So, and here are the chickens and ducks. So, I'm not sure. Oh, there's the other duck.
Okay, hiding out.
So we have a male and a female Pekin duck, and then we have 15 chickens.
So
This-
have they started production yet?
Nope, the chickens should start laying in the next 3 weeks or so. So probably middle to late August, we should be getting chicken eggs. Our duck, somewhere around there, we should be getting duck eggs as well. So,
Okay. So right now, mostly they just they eat insects, scratch things up,
and poop,
and poop. Y'all use any of that for fertilizer?
we do.
Okay.
So we take what's in the chicken house
Mhm.
and we spread that around different places. And when we rake up in the chicken run,
Okay.
we'll take that as well.
So
Just put the duck. There's a duck house over here I just built. Put it in there a couple days ago.
so the chickens know to stay out of that.
No. So we've got to train. The ducks go in here with the chickens currently at night, and we're going to have to train the ducks to go in there, because once the chickens start laying and the ducks start laying, we want them laying in two different places,
Okay.
because the ducks are very heavy, and if they start laying on chicken eggs, they're going to crush them. So
Okay, I got you. So there's the ducks and the chickens get along pretty well.
they do. They can't do without each other. So,
So do they have separation anxiety?
they do.
Huh.
Yep, if we take the ducks to go swim in the pond or something, then they start crying, the chickens start whining.
You gotta
So
try and keep that thing still, Madison.
they grew up together, so
So they don't know the difference. They think they're all chickens, or they think they're all
the
ducks.
ducks, or they think the ducks are their parents. So the ducks kind of act like the parents.
So they kind of herd them around.
Herd them around, make sure they're not in trouble with, getting into trouble with something. So,
Does that emasculate the rooster?
well, the rooster is just starting to show his true colors.
Okay.
Being a rooster, so that's going to be interesting how that plays out. because roosters can be quite aggressive.
Mm-hmm.
But right now the ducks keep him in his place.
Yeah. Well, ducks are a good bit bigger than him.
Yeah. But when the rooster eventually gets his spurs, it's going to change things. So right now he doesn't have any, but they will grow.
Okay. Somebody have to do something about that.
Yeah. We'll see if we end up keeping the rooster.
Might get rid of him.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I guess it's all part of life, huh? All part of the circle of life.
Yep.
All right, Mr. Chris. Well, we appreciate you letting us come out here and view your garden. So, one of the things we like to do is, obviously, this is something that you and your family enjoy doing. So, just kind of talk to us a little about that. What is it that you guys enjoy? What's your motivations for gardening? Maybe what are some things that you find are pretty successful? What are some things that haven't worked for you? So, kind of let you just speak on that.
So, motivation-wise, we've always enjoyed gardening. It's therapeutic, I think, to go outside, be out in nature, and be in the peace and quiet, get away from the hustle and bustle of life. So that's kind of our motivation. We moved here almost 5 years ago, back in 2015, and again, 4.5 acres. We wanted something where we had enough space to do what we want to do, which is have chickens and have a large garden to do things without, the overlook of the subdivision and
The HOA.
the HOA. That's right. So that was one of the things that we did not like about living in a subdivision, people telling us what we could and couldn't do. Here, I can do what I want to do.
You got freedom.
I have freedom, that's right. So that's more or less the motivation. But along with that, I have taught environmental science for 20 years, and a good portion of that AP environmental science. So it's more practicing what I preach as well, and trying to get back to nature, doing things that are more in line or in tune with nature. So that's kind of our philosophy. We typically don't use insecticides or any type of pesticide, and limit the amount of fertilizers, inorganic fertilizers that we would use. So those are the things we try to practice.
Would you say in terms of cost effectiveness, y'all run at least a moderately cost effective, or do y'all kind of go over the top? Because I know you said like you rent a tiller. Do y'all try to keep things as cheap as possible, or is that not really much of a concern for y'all?
We do. We do rent a tiller. I don't buy a tiller because typically I only use it once a year. So I go to Home Depot and rent the biggest tiller that they have and take it back, when we're done. That way I don't have to store it. I don't have the maintenance costs. Things that we do aren't typically cheap. So the chickens, I wouldn't say that those are cost effective. We don't make our money back on them, but we have put quite a bit of money into the house, the run, the chickens themselves, but we do enjoy fresh eggs. We like being able to watch the chickens, and just seeing their antics it's relaxing, to be honest with you. And the ducks add another dynamic to that we've enjoyed.
So you said this is your first year with ducks?
Yes.
So overall, a good experience so far?
It has been a learning experience. Ducks have different nutritional requirements than chickens do, so they need a lot of niacin, especially in their growing phase. Otherwise, their bones don't develop correctly and they're not able to walk. And so we've had to use different types of feed than we would with just chickens that have the niacin, or we add what's called brewer's yeast to their feed if we just buy regular chicken food, and that adds the niacin to their diet. But they're fun. They're crazy ducks.
Which would you say is easier, chicken or ducks?
They're both about the same. There are different issues with either. The ducks are a little messier because you don't have to have water for them, but we have ponds, we have little pools for them to get in just because they are waterfowl. You know, they should have water available for them. And that also plays into how they feed, because when ducks feed, they get a mouthful of dirt, insects, and they go over to the water and they swish that dirt water mix and make a mud. And they're a little messier. So right now I've got one of my bees flying around my head.
Yeah, you do.
So, but the chickens are messier in the fact that they poop a lot more, and there's a lot of it, and it's smellier than the ducks.
So the ducks are a little bit more discreet and hide a little bit better?
Yeah, and they don't make quite a bit as big a mess as the chickens in that respect. So.
Okay. All right. Well, Mr. Chris, we appreciate you spending your time with us, letting us come over and check out your space. It's really a beautiful, beautiful place. You know, you got a lot of things going on. One of the things that I appreciate about what the Webbs do here is their willingness to experiment and try different things. Mr. Webb being and his wife being science teachers, that's kind of what they do for a living. So seeing that played out here. And so like we talk about getting inspired to get out here and do these kinds of things. So maybe you saw something that the Webbs do and you know, it's motivating or something you guys want to try out. Certainly things that are completely accessible. Maybe the chickens and the animals are a little bit more time consuming and intensive, but you know, pretty much everything out here is certainly accessible to anyone that's out there watching. So we appreciate you guys letting us stop by and inspiring us with your space.
Anytime.